7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome into the Vegas Squares podcast. We are back here with a special Thanksgiving edition. We are all sitting here away from our families as our wives tap their toes and wonder where the fuck we went. But nevertheless, we've got a full studio again. Spike on my left, Token Tony on my right. And making a special reappearance, I haven't heard from him since this summer, is the one, the only, the host, founder, CEO of the Seems Legit podcast, Mr. Sonny D.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, well, it's the day to give thanks, so.
Well, I didn't have a choice. You just kind of showed up.
Yeah, in fairness, I didn't either. He just showed up. I don't know. I was walking back home from work, and he was he was sitting there with a coat over him, and he's like, "Please, sir."
Stanley didn't want me, and he was wearing a security shirt, and was like, "I'm pretty sure you don't have clearance."
You're right. Little Stan, the show dog here, has his Patriots jersey on because he didn't get to wear it after the bye week, and every time they lose, he likes to pick it off. So he's a fair weather dog. Gentlemen, what are your plans for Turkey Day? Because by the time they hear this on 12 ounce, it'll almost be over.
Yeah, pretty much. The wife and I actually, we've done the big Thanksgiving, we've done the small Thanksgiving. We were just back in Boston last week or 2 weeks ago, so today is just about us. We have dinner reservations at the Old Homestead Steakhouse in Caesar's Palace.
Oh, yes, I have heard of that. Yeah, that one is, I've heard good things. So
yeah, we've been a couple of times. Phenomenal place. And they're doing a Thanksgiving special of like turkey and filet mignon for whatever. So,
see what
can't go wrong with steak.
What he was saying, it's just going to be us, or we're going to just be doing us. And I was like, man, he's putting a baby in this one.
Turkey's in the oven.
He's putting a bun in the oven.
You honestly
Turkey's
think
in the oven.
I am that much of a monster to pass these genes onto another generation? What kind of sick fuck do you think I am?
Help us all.
Skinny jeans. Just kidding. Look at you. You're not getting into skinny jeans.
Oh, never.
All right. Anyways, what do you two Rugrats have planned for Turkey Day? Since you two were joined at the hip the last 72 hours.
What are we doing? Are we doing a buffet or something? I think.
Well, I'm at work, but yeah.
We can do a buffet before work.
Twerking at work.
Yeah.
Watching a Lions victory, hopefully.
Yeah, the casinos don't run themselves on holidays, I guess. Oh boy, somebody picked the Lions. 2 people picked the Lions.
We're doomed.
Uh-oh. Lions fans have hope. That's the worst thing.
But Boomer's going to go with the Bears.
I think Boomer's going to go with the refs.
That's the smart way to go.
Nevertheless, if you're listening to this on 12 Ounce Sports Radio, we are actually recording here. On one screen, we've got the start of the Lions and Bears game. And on the other screen, we've got a beautiful young lady marching down the parade. The Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade. I don't know who she is, but that's really irrelevant at this point. Nevertheless, all right, let's try to get back on track here. Want to thank the sponsors, 12 Ounce Sports Radio. We want to thank VGK Pop Sockets and, of course, ChaiPoker.com. Listen on the website. We do have our little podcast we did with Ben and Chai Poker regarding their December 1st tournament at the South Point Hotel and Casino. Going to be a good time benefiting the Boys and Girls Clubs of Southern Nevada. So for more information, just hit up Chai Poker, on their Facebook or their Twitter, or I don't think they have any other social media platforms, but hit them up on one of those, and you can get more information as you go along. All right, well, we've got a jam-packed show actually for the only 47 minutes we have left, or 57 minutes we have left. We didn't take that long on bullshit. Where do you guys want to start? I got kind of a little bit going forward. Let's recap that Monday Night Football game is kind of where I'm looking at, because that thing was crazy, and we haven't talked since then.
Yeah.
I know the first thing we talked about on our NFL recap was Spike texting us when the game was talked about being moved. He said, you need to get it now because it will go down a touchdown. Well, it didn't matter what they put that at. You couldn't get high enough.
So my theory behind that was, and we talked about this last week, is that Mexico City is a higher altitude than people expect. So I thought because of that, the quarterbacks would have trouble adjusting their throws, at least for a while.
It
And
didn't
so-
seem like that.
So I expected the first half to be a lot of incomplete passes, maybe some field goals, and kind of keeping the ball on the ground, this, that, and the other thing. If it was in Mexico, when it moved to LA, I thought that people would be hammering the over so hard that the line was going to start moving down. But it didn't. They didn't, and no matter what, it stayed.
Unless you had the under 104,
yeah,
or excuse me, under 106, you were no good.
yeah, no, that was bad.
I will say this though, I did bet when you were talking about it, and actually when the game was officially moved, they canceled all bets on William Hill.
Yeah, because of the change of venue.
So you had to rebet.
Yeah, I think with the gaming stipulation that they had to give a refund due to change of venue.
So, but I mean, nevertheless, what do we take away from this game? Because what I took away just by watching it, because I actually rewatched it, because for the first half I was a little distracted. We were out at dinner, and I didn't get to really truly focus on the game. But finally, when I had rewatched it on the NFL Network, because I get a lot of downtime during my job, my takeaway from that game was that despite the loss, the Chiefs, to me, come out of that, in my opinion, they're the better team.
I'm not so sure about that, but
One, I believe they're the better team. Two, I believe they're, and you wouldn't have said this maybe in the beginning of the year. Two, I believe they're in the weaker conference.
I'll agree with that.
I would absolutely agree with that.
So by being the better team, I would say if I had to hedge or bet my money, I would bet my money. If you're telling me gun to my head, one or the other. The way they have to get to the Super Bowl, I like the Chiefs more so than I like the Rams path.
Mm-hmm. Which is why I changed my Super Bowl prediction to two teams. I don't think these two teams will meet in the playoff or in the Super Bowl coming off. If they would, I heard William Hill, what the opening line would be, and it would be like 72 or 73.
Well, yeah, they're not gonna fuck that up again.
Yeah.
But I mean, okay, so look, I mean, you have the Rams are still the betting favorite at 3-1 right now, and you have a Chiefs team that's, even though they're 9-2, probably going to finish out, I would say, at worst 12-4, which is going to be good enough probably for the 1 seed because
No, if they're 12-4, New England should also finish 12-4. New England has a tiebreaker against the two between the two of them.
Well, pull up the schedules because I believe, I know you're right, they have a tiebreaker, but
Chiefs play at Raiders this week, against the Ravens versus the Chargers, at Seahawks, and versus Raiders.
They get the Raiders twice?
Yeah.
well, yeah, that's how the divisions work.
Yeah, the Patriots
I could see
still
them
have two against the
losing.
Jets.
I could see them
Two against
losing
the Jets,
one,
they
maybe
got
two.
one against the Bills.
Yeah.
I don't see 2 losses there. The only one I
one,
see
yeah.
maybe is the Chargers.
I would say the Seahawks on the road.
I don't know. It'd be tough to see them losing that game. I could see that being close, but what do the Patriots have? Do anybody have that?
Yeah, I got it. Patriots have the Jets this week, home against the Vikings, road against the Dolphins, road against the Steelers, home against the Bills, home against the Jets.
So I
See them losing too, almost. Yeah.
Well, you have the Steelers, and you said the Vikings. Those are probably the two they have a shot at losing.
Yeah.
And the Dolphins always give them tough
Yeah, the Dolphins
competition.
in Miami as well. So I mean, worst comes to worst, they're 11-5, 10-6. Yeah, of course, if they're the number 1 seed, then it's going to be going through New England. That might be a little bit of a tougher challenge. But if Kansas City is the number 1 seed, I can't see a team in the AFC going in there and beating them, and that includes the Steelers, the Patriots, and anything in the AFC South.
I don't know. I think it's a weird year. I think Pittsburgh could get it done. I just have a weird feeling about Pittsburgh this year.
I think everybody's had a weird feeling about Pittsburgh for like the last decade.
Well, I mean, it's always like one of those things. I'm sure everybody's uncomfortable when Roethlisberger sits down at the table, but I don't know what it is. They've looked at times like world beaters this season, and I think their style, I think they could get it done. I think they could win the AFC, especially if New England doesn't have that 1 seed and doesn't get those home games. I could see Pittsburgh getting it done.
Yeah, you got to talk into the mic. You keep going
sorry,
from the mic.
sorry. Yeah, no, I think Pittsburgh. If New England doesn't have the 1 seed, I think Pittsburgh could get it done.
Oh, fair enough. There you go, a little future prediction. All right, way to go, dog. backing up the TV telecast. Speaking of the TV telecast, we are adding a new fun little point availability to our season-long bet. Correct, Spike?
Yeah, so I just kind of threw this out because with 3 games on Thanksgiving...
And let me make this official. The games have not started yet at the time we're recording.
Yes, that is correct. We are still a couple of minutes away from kickoff here. But all of our picks are already in, so they've already been locked in. But what we're saying is, with the 3 games on Thanksgiving, we're going to do a 3-team parlay. You hit all 3, you get 3 points. If you miss, you get nothing. We're taking 1 favorite against the spread. We're taking... actually, Aaron didn't do that, but that's all right.
We have to take 1 favorite against the spread?
That was what we were saying.
I guess I misread that.
Oh, good.
And then, that's fine. If you want to keep it, that's fine. We'll do 1... what the fuck was I going to say? Oh, 1 total and then 1 whatever. So we have these parlays locked in. If they hit, we get 3 points, and if we miss, we get nothing. Just like a real parlay.
All right. Well, then I will make 2 comments here. I will change one since I will try to follow what you have. I'll change my skins bet to Cowboys -7.
All right.
And I would propose making it a larger point amount because that's basically like hitting 3 straight bets. I feel like if you hit a parlay, you should get more points.
Yeah. You want to make it or 4 instead?
I was going to say 5.
5.
You can do 5.
Oh, okay.
5 or 0?
Yeah.
5 or 0, okay.
Okay. Cool.
Hit them all, you all win.
All right, so I'll start with my picks as they're playing the national anthem here. I am going with this first game. I'm taking the over, 43.5. I am now apparently taking the Cowboys -7. And I will take the dog Falcons on the road against the Saints, getting 12.5. That will be my parlay for the Thanksgiving holiday. Thanksgiving Galladay. Did you see what I did there?
I took the Saints.
Lions jokes.
I took the Saints -12.5 because that was the line at the time. Over 41 in the Dallas-Washington game, and then my Detroit Lions plus the points, +3.
Yeah, I am not nearly as confident in Detroit as Token is.
Neither am I, but
I mean,
I'm not confident in Daniel.
You got to feel a little bit better with Chase Daniel running the offense. Although, I mean, the guy is a 10-year veteran at this point.
But he hasn't played an NFL snap in
But he's played
2
enough.
years.
He's played enough preseason to know the game. You know, I know that sounds weird. He's played significant action in the NFL. The game may take about half a quarter to get to him, but I mean, Nagy doesn't feel any less confident with Chase Daniel running the offense. I mean, he brought the guy over from Kansas City. So, I mean, we're so hyped on Colt McCoy, and it seems like everybody's down on Chase Daniel. I don't know. I feel like it may be the other way around because now you forced my hand and made me take the Cowboys.
Hey, it might work out for you.
Spike, who's your 3-team Turkey Day parlay?
So I am going with the Bears -3. I think even with Chase Daniels, they're not going to fuck it up and lose this game.
Mm-hmm.
I've got Washington +7 with Colt McCoy, who has never lost to the Dallas Cowboys in his career.
What's he, 1-0?
I don't know.
I read a stat somewhere.
I saw that headline and I just ran with it.
Deep dive website.
And Atlanta, New Orleans, this game is actually interesting to me, and I see it. It's actually moved half a point since I put this in, so I'm going to adjust this. But this is the same type of game that I saw with New Orleans and Philadelphia last week, where New Orleans can score a ton. I don't know that Atlanta is going to get on the board at all, so I think the under 60.5 here is what I'm rolling with.
Fair enough. I think the under 60.5 still might be a good play, but I mean, remember the last time they played? I believe it was 42-37.
Yeah, but Atlanta's been not great since then.
Yeah, all right. Well, fair enough.
Looked,
hey, it's your pick. I hope for all intents and purposes of our bet, you are incorrect.
Colt McCoy is 1-0 against the Dallas Cowboys.
There we go. Never lost to the Dallas Cowboys.
He's 2-0 at AT&T Stadium. One was with
Texas.
Yeah, Texas. Yeah.
They play a Cotton Bowl or something. Probably.
Yeah.
Something like that. All right, well, let's talk about Colt McCoy there. And Jay Gruden feels very confident after watching Alex Smith Theismann the hell out of his leg last week. God, that was gross. Same yard line, same date, 33 years ago, Joe Theismann snapped his leg in half too by Lawrence Taylor.
Yep.
Kind of uncanny.
Yeah, just not fun, not great, but I think / hope medical technology has advanced enough that it's not going to end his career.
No, I think he's definitely ending his season, but his career, no, I would think he'll be ready. I would hope he doesn't play timidly going forward, because that would, one, suck for the Redskins, who just inked him to a 5-year deal, and that would, two, suck for, well, me personally, I like Alex Smith. I think he's a good quarterback. Not the greatest, but I think he's a serviceable guy. Nevertheless, you know, they're 6-4 now, the Redskins. Again, we don't have information on what happened today, because this is being recorded before that game. But let's just say they lose. They go to 6-5 and obviously become second place in the division, and ultimately end up ceding this division to whoever, Dallas, Philadelphia, God forbid the Giants.
God, bite your tongue.
I mean, does the injury save Gruden's job? I mean, I feel like injuries have been saving Jason Garrett's job for nearly a decade now. Injuries and suspensions.
And stubbornness of Jerry Jones. Yeah, I think...
I mean, because Gruden was on the hot seat to start the year.
Yeah, and I actually hadn't thought about it, but I think that's a decent point where you can't blame Gruden for the Smith injury, and if they fall out of the playoff spot, I don't know that you want to get rid of Gruden while Smith recovers and, you know,
relearning a new offense. And shit,
yeah, especially because Smith ain't young anymore.
Nope. He might be one of the top 2 or 3 as far as oldest quarterbacks. I think him, Rodgers, and Brady are in Breeze.
Yeah, Rivers has got to be up there too.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Phillip Rivers.
Yeah.
So we got some oldies. You know, there's definitely some old quarterbacks still playing well. But what was I going to say? So going forward with, do you give Washington a shot with Colt McCoy?
Yeah, I mean, it's, you know, the thing with Alex Smith is that he's always been known as a game manager, a guy that can play decent quarterback, not make mistakes, and then the rest of the team does the work for him. And I think in Washington he's actually had a better defense than a lot of the defenses he's had with San Francisco and Kansas City. So I think with Colt McCoy, obviously it's a downgraded quarterback, but I don't think it's such a tremendous downgrade. Like, we're not going from Brady to Hoyer. We're not going from Mahomes to whoever his backup is.
Rodgers to whoever the Deshaun Kaiser.
Right. So, you know, it's not such a step down. Plus, the NFC East is a dumpster fire this year. So I still think Washington has a shot to win the division.
Absolutely. I would agree with you on that sense. I mean, Colt McCoy, with the way that defense is playing again, they got Clinton Dix in that midseason trade. Adrian Peterson, that's the thing that scares me, and I know we talked about this in the recap. Adrian Peterson is going to be the X factor because he is going to be asked to command a lot more work. And he's, 33, 34 years old. Chris Thompson's out for the year with injury. It's not a lot in the stable there. So it looks like you're relying on old switcheroo there.
I would have thought Adrian Peterson's older than that. Like, is he, comparatively, when I think of my age...
I think he's 33.
Yeah,
I want to say he's 33, yeah.
Which is still, I mean, I could do
It's young in life.
He'll be 34 in March.
Yeah, it's young in life. It's not young in the NFL.
Well, that's exactly it,
Especially for an NFL running back. His body
Did you see that guy? Did you see that guy run? Who was that? Anthony Miller. The way he held that football is atrocious. What? Oh, never mind. Oh, hello.
That's why they don't show
the way he holds her is atrocious too. He'll be grabbing her by the butt. Oh, I'm sure I'll get some flashback for that, or no, blowback for that.
I'm the starter this week.
Hey, babe, I'm starting this week.
Give me something.
I'm gonna go watch the game with Mitch. See how his injury is. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah, Adrian Peterson. I think the bell, he's going to have to be even more of the bell cow than he was before because receiving-wise, there's not much there. Jordan Reed, Paul Richardson's out for the year. This Maurice Harris guy has been a halfway decent pickup as far as receiving core, but there ain't much there. I mean, the offense, as good as the defense is, that offense wasn't great when number 11 was in there. Now with number 12 in there, I mean, like you said, it's not too much of a downgraded quarterback, but the weapons are terrible.
No, That's true, but I mean, what else in the division scares you? Obviously, Philadelphia's looked awful with such a Super Bowl hangover.
Dallas scares me.
Dallas scares me a little bit, but their offensive line is so porous and injured that I'm not sure that they can keep Dak and Zeke upright enough for them to really make a difference. And the Giants are the Giants. They're going to find a way to collapse, and if they get into the playoffs, they're going to win the Super Bowl.
That's exactly it with the Giants. Both years the Giants won the Super Bowls with Eli. They didn't win the division, did they?
No.
Yeah, so they had to win 4 playoff games en route to a Super Bowl. How that ever happened, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think we're all asking ourselves that.
Definitively, one of them, they were the number 6 seed. I don't know if that's true with both of them or if they were the 5th and the 6th or what.
I know they were the 6th seed a year they took down 18-0.
Yeah.
All right, so here you go. I want a fun little $5 prop bet if you guys are in. I'm writing down the 3 teams that we believe are obviously still in the NFC East race. I'll let you guys pick first, and I'll take whatever the team remaining is. For $5, if that team wins the division, you get 10. You get a total of 10 from the other guys. So, Spike, I'll let you pick number 1, 2, or 3.
Oh, you're doing it blind?
Well, you 2 are. I'm just getting whatever's left.
Oh, okay.
I randomize them. They're not in. I mean, they're not in an order like alphabetical or anything.
So they are.
Wait, so I'm picking a number and you're assigning me a team?
Correct.
Okay, that I wanted to make sure that was right. And I will take number 2.
You are getting the Eagles.
I'll take number 3.
You are getting the Redskins.
Yes.
Ah, damn it.
So I got the Cowboys. So whoever finishes, God forbid the Giants, and we all push. So whoever finishes in the division ahead, at the lead after week 17, whoever wins the division, God, I couldn't think of what the fuck to say. But whoever wins the division is going to get 10 from the other 2 guys. Well, 10 total. Well, 5 each. All right, speaking of quarterbacks, we talked about butt fumble. I tweeted him again. No response. He's obviously preparing for this week. It takes strength to hold a clipboard.
No, that's true.
and put an earpiece in your ear.
Yeah.
But
He's a key piece of this team.
Mark Sanchez is going to be the backup. And obviously this week, spell the Kaepernick. All the Kaepernick guys come out of the woods. Mark Sanchez, over under 1.5 drives that he doesn't kneel the football this season.
Oof.
I take the over right away.
I mean, the only way he's getting in is either injury or a blowout either way. And I don't know that I mean, obviously injuries scare me, but I think I go under.
I'll take the over, fuck it.
Yeah, I don't know. It's tough. God forbid that Mark Sanchez starts playing meaningful games at some point this season. That would definitely be a small victory in the Kaepernick for the Kaepernick Packers. But what, you wanted to say something?
I think it becomes very sad when you think about that, especially with the Kaepernick situation. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Colin Kaepernick's done. I mean, I'm very proud of Nike for doing what they've done with him. But yeah, it is a bit of a piss off when you look at a guy like Mark Sanchez, who I'm sure every time he stands, at the line, has to be like, don't run into my teammate's butt. Don't run headfirst into my teammate's butt. Don't run, right? And then it's like, and then all of a sudden he does it again. It's like, oh no, I did it. Like, with a guy like that, there's it's only degrees of losing. I think,
It's fair. You almost wonder if, because I believe I forget who the coach was at the time. I think it was who was the coach? Was it Carroll when he was in college? Was it Sanchez? Yeah. Pete Carroll begged him to stay, publicly and privately.
Oh, yeah, he publicly said he is not ready for the NFL when he decided to come out after his junior year.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder if what he could be if he did listen. So, anyways, what about another one I was looking, Andrew Luck. I know we're 10 weeks into the season or 11 weeks into the season, but I got to feel like he's locked up comeback player of the year at this point.
I mean, who else would be in that discussion? Almost?
Adrian Peterson.
Yeah, that was my
that's the.
okay.
But I don't.
I mean, he played last year, though. I mean,
well, yeah, that's true. He did play last year.
Yeah, but not well and not much.
Well, comeback player of the year, does that have more to do with injury or
on
production?
I always thought it was
I've
more
always-
about production than
I thought it was injury, but
I always felt like Chad Pennington. That should be named after Chad Pennington.
first down of the game.
Didn't he win it like 10 times? But you're right. There may not be any other candidates.
Is Indy good this season?
Well, they were 1-5, and now they're 5-5.
Yeah, they won 4 in a row and looking like they're contenders for that division.
Well, I think production has to be relatively important in that discussion because otherwise, like Mark Sanchez could be in the conversation because he shows up. So I think production is one of those things. Like, not only do you have to come back and start playing again, but there has to be that increase back to, oh, hey, they're good again. And with that being said, I could see Adrian Peterson getting that because, here he is, an old man, quote unquote, by running back standards, and as we've just said, he is the X factor for his team. Is if Adrian Peterson shows up and wants to put up some yards, it's a different game. So I see that a two-person race for that one.
You're very movement when you talk.
I try.
Yeah, well, try less. Keep the mic in front of your fucking face. I can only hear half of what you're saying in my headphones. Candidates that I'm seeing here are J.J. Watt, who came off, obviously, a season-ending injury last year, which seems like that's been the last couple of years. Deshaun Watson, coming off that ACL surgery.
Oh, yeah.
David Johnson played 2 games last year, so he's another one that's got a shot. That the team's just so bad you don't even really think about him.
Yeah, and they misused him for his first 8 games back. So
yeah,
he doesn't have the stats probably to compete against Peterson or Luck, but he's got to be in the conversation.
Yep. Odell Beckham Jr. I believe he got hurt in the 8th game of last year, so he's another candidate. And let me give you another candidate, probably the one who will challenge, I think, Andrew Luck, even though I think Andrew Luck will win this going away. Aaron Rodgers.
Oh.
Yeah, you forget that he broke his collarbone, tried to come back, played the one game. See, the thing is the question mark is after the one game when the collarbone was supposedly healed, they were eliminated from playoff contention, and then they pulled him. So I don't know how you would factor that all into it. But again, like we said, Andrew Luck's probably running away with this award, but it's probably not the award he aims to get this year. Any thoughts on the Colts catching up in the AFC? Well, they 7-3, the Texans, and 5-5. God, how bad is that non-tie looking now?
Yeah,
they could be 5-4-1, and the Texans could be 7-2-1, or 6-2-1.
Yeah, no, that's going to come back to bite that rookie head coach in the ass. So I don't know. It's one of those things where the division is wide open between those two teams. Jacksonville is out of it, and I don't think that Tennessee is going to be able to catch up, which is a shame because
they got to play Blaine Gabbert again, I think, this week.
Yeah, and that's part of the problem is playoff team last year kind of lost their mojo this year. Mariota getting hurt, and making the playoffs and firing the coach to bring in somebody who's now going to miss the playoffs is not taking the team in the right direction. So you wonder how much patience the fans are going to have, some of the players are going to have, if they're going to lose free agents because of it. They
didn't fire the coach, in fairness, but they just didn't renew his contract.
That's essentially the same thing. If they wanted him to stay, they would have
found a way. The Red Sox didn't fire John Farrell. Kind of worked out.
Well, yeah, that worked out.
You can't always, assume it's going to work one way or the other. But, maybe, and you could be right. There's a lot of things. Who knows? The message may have gotten old, and, Malarkey, like you said, their offense was so stale. Mariota had his worst season as a pro last year. Even though and then despite all that, they made the playoffs. So they were kind of a funky team and won a playoff game.
That's true.
And came back in the second half to win a playoff game in Arrowhead. So you're right. Despite all of the kind of inefficiencies, I would say they were a very successful team last year. So, yeah, you're right. It's not going to be a good look for the fans, or you're right, even for potential free agents going forward to let go of a coach and then regress like they did.
Yeah, no, it's a tough move. I don't know. Between Tennessee and Jacksonville, for both of them to miss the playoffs in such spectacular fashion like they will this year is going to be pretty embarrassing for both of those franchises.
I'm not sure what record I expected out of Jacksonville, but I was 100% confident they were missing the playoffs this year.
Really?
Having to play a first-place schedule. 100% confident.
Yeah, last year they had a few game-ending drives that went their way as well as a few bounces.
They also played fantastic defense. They're not doing that this year.
Yeah, that's gone downhill. Fournette's got down early in the year, and
I love the fact that Jalen Ramsey's finally relevant in a football game, and his mouth just starts spewing again.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's been non-existent. Their defense has been terrible. They've lost 7 straight games now?
6
straight games now? He has a 2-interception game, and all of a sudden he just can't shut up. And, of course, he picks on the weakest link in Josh Allen. Like, come on.
Yeah. No, he's been running his mouth since he got in the league, hasn't he?
I don't think so. I think it's just this year or this offseason. He's like, Josh Allen's trash. I'm like, yeah, we know. But at the same time, I mean, he's won football games. I think he's won 2 football games this year. So he's only 1 behind you, Jalen. Speaking of quarterbacks, it seems like we're going to go down this list. A couple more quarterbacks on this list. Ryan Tannehill is due to start a game here this week, and I believe he's been out for about 5 or 6 weeks at this point. Miami feels like they're kind of out, right? I mean,
Yeah.
they're what 5 and 5 right now?
I literally just closed it, and I don't know why I did.
Attaboy.
Yeah. Way to contribute.
5 and 5, or they could be 4 and 6.
They are. God damn it.
They are 5 and 5.
5 and 5.
5 and 5.
So theoretically, in the AFC, they are tied for 6th. I mean, the tiebreakers and all that shit, but they are basically in 6th place overall. So I guess they're really not out of it at that point. Ryan Tannehill obviously has got to play good football to keep them in it, and is good football enough because he will be a free agent this year. Are they going to keep him? You think? Whoa. I know that all depends on the next 6 weeks of football, but
Yeah, well, the question then becomes, if not him, then who?
the Brock Lobster.
I mean, he hasn't
I
done.
think Brock's won 3 games this year.
Yeah, he hasn't done.
Or
too
no,
bad.
he's won 2. Because Tannehill, I think they were 3-1 before Tannehill separated his shoulder. Either way,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you're going with Brock. I keep wanting to call him Brock Lobster or Brock Lesnar. And neither of those are his name. Brock Osweiler. God, that's a weird name.
Yes.
Anyways, so obviously you're probably not going with either of those 2 options at quarterback. But, I mean, again, we've talked about draft perspective, Drew Lock. I feel like every guy kind of coming out this year, except for maybe Justin Herbert, is Ryan Tannehill. Unpolished, unproven, maybe not ready to go pro, but it's going to go pro anyways because of where they're going to be drafted. But I just don't know if. I mean, I think they may end up having to be stuck with Ryan Tannehill on a short-term deal, which he's obviously not going to want. But I think he's going to find the market very cold to him if he tries to test it. Anybody want to not watch the game and do a podcast?
No, I think that's the thing, right? I mean, nobody's trusted Brock Osweiler for any degree of security at the quarterback position. So, I mean, you kind of have to go back to, any other option than Osweiler. I mean, there might come a point when you kind of have to think, is Brock Lesnar available to play quarterback?
Can't bring that guy down.
Is Lesnar available? Like,
All of a sudden you hear roughing the passer. I'm like, have you seen this guy? How did I rough him?
Like trying to put
He roughed me by me tackling him.
It was like trying to put Dikembe Mutombo in net in the AHL, which some team tried to do, which did not work at all.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how big you are. You just got to stop pucks. So, well, speaking of, we're talking about Tannehill. We got a quarterback who's got a bright future, and that's Lamar Jackson, who ran the ball 26 times and threw the ball only 17. And despite winning his first game, which he should be happy about, and probably taking over the quarterback position, he decided to turn it into a negative and said, I'm a better quarterback than one that can just run the football. That might not sit well with the coach.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think he's saying that he wants more chances to.
We almost had a butt fumble.
His lineman sacked him.
Hey!
What were you saying?
I think he's saying that he wants more chances to prove himself with his arm rather than with just his legs, and essentially become a dual threat type quarterback where he could run or throw, as opposed to just one or the other. And I kind of admire him saying that he wants to do more, especially as somebody that's so unproven and that hasn't had the reps. if he's saying that he wants to do more, I say let him do more because he's,
But don't you think it's painfully obvious to an offense, to a coach, to an NFL franchise that the more you play, the more they will open up the game or the playbook for you, without having to needle them or coax them along? I understand what you're saying, and I applaud his efforts, but I mean, your first game in the NFL, when all these other packages you've been put in is basically just running. You really thought they were going to come out and expect you to throw the ball 50 times? I mean, that's ludicrous.
No. But I'm saying that I would say right now he is the better option at quarterback than Flacco, even if Flacco's healthy.
I wouldn't disagree with that, but my point is he ran the ball 26 times. I got to imagine, based on his comments, that I would say over 50% of those were designed runs.
I could see that.
Only based on his comments. I didn't watch the whole game. So the only reason he'd be saying that, because if he was taking off on his own, he wouldn't be saying those things.
No, then that's true. So I think it's just his way of, and he's not doing it the right way. I admire the fact that he wants to do more, but he's not doing it the right way. These are the conversations that you have in private with the coaches. But I like the fact that he wants to do more, that he wants to be able to prove that he can do more. Maybe he's a little impatient in doing it, but I still think that it's the right thing for him to say that he wants to expand. And even though you're right, he probably would get more opportunities to do this as the season goes along. The fact that he's saying that he wants to do it now, I'm not going to shit on him because of that.
No, I'm not shitting on him. I just, like you said, what you said, I think it was the wrong way to go about it. And I think the offensive coordinator and the game plan, whoever, I don't know who the offensive coordinator is, but he's got to be sitting there going, well, duh, that's the plan. But now you're almost at this point forcing a court of public opinion. If he doesn't throw more than 17 times next game, they're going to say, well, the offense they're not listening to him. And if he does, then they're going to say, well, Lamar Jackson got what he wanted. And what if he throws for 25 times, 4 picks, loses the game? And then they're going to say, and then, the offensive coordinator, hey, see, I told you weren't ready to throw the ball 25 times a game. I just think that he puts them in a no-win situation at that point.
Mm-hmm. I think if you put Lamar in, you just let him do what he has to do and maybe design some creative plays and get them to move the ball forward, and it might be the rebirth of this franchise almost.
Well, with him, are they officially kind of saying now in Baltimore that Flacco's not the guy anymore? Like, is that kind of...
No, they haven't officially said that either. He's hurt right now.
Yeah, so is it just one of those things is they're just trying to get by until they have Flacco back? I like Joe Flacco. I think he's a great thrower, and I think...
Not anymore.
Well, I think the more Lamar plays well, the more Flacco's hip injury is going to quote-unquote linger.
Yeah, that's true, too.
There's spots where a quarterback could be healthy, but there's just no need for him. There's no need for him. So instead of trying to play the what-if game and distract your team, you're just going to say he's still injured at this point. And yes, I was laughing at you, Token, because every time you talk about offensive football, you go, they just need to move the ball forward. Like, no fucking shit. Lamar Jackson's going to be
unless if you're Mark Sanchez, number one mission's not trying to run into your linemen.
That's true.
Poor Mark Sanchez.
Yeah, well, that happens when that's all we have to know about him.
And he won't come on the podcast to defend himself.
Yeah,
so
we've given him a voice.
Yeah, we want him to be able to come on here and let us know what happened on the butt fumble.
Yeah, I'm sure that there's a side of the story that we haven't heard. We've seen it. We haven't heard it.
That's the thing, right? How many times has he been asked, to be like, all right, Mark, walk us through that night. Like, what happened there? Like, what the heck were you thinking?
All I know is I hiked the ball, the running back went the other way, and the next thing I know, there were green spandex right in my face.
Well, bam!
It all happened so fast.
Oh, poor guy. But yeah, so, in Baltimore, if they decide that Flacco's not the guy, do they keep Flacco kind of as a contingency plan? Like, do you say, okay, you know what, let's see how this goes, and then we still have Flacco? Is Flacco, that trusted there now? Like, you guys are saying it's pretty much done for Flacco. He's not a starting quarterback.
I think it's done for, and Tony Johnson said this on another podcast, I think it's done for Flacco, Harbaugh, and obviously the GM's retiring, so it's obviously done for him too.
You think Harbaugh's done too there? Wow.
Yeah, I think Harbaugh's done. I think it's going to be a complete regime change, because if the GM's retiring and you got a coach who's pretty much on the hot seat, I don't know if it's an expiring contract or if there's I think he signed a 1-year extension that basically doesn't have a buyout to it. So I think, we're pretty much talking about a GM bringing in his own guy at this point without pretty much any repercussion. And, they didn't draft Lamar Jackson in the first round to sit. He's already playing here now in Week 11, so time to advance the offense. And
and I was talking about this a couple of weeks ago. I watched a Ravens game with Flacco at quarterback, and he was underthrowing receivers. He wasn't hitting them in stride. He just had no aim anymore. And I always joked that his best weapon was the downfield
pass interference.
The downfield pass with defensive pass interference.
Joe Flacco's initials are DPI.
And he couldn't even get that because he couldn't get the ball to these people anymore. I don't know if he's battling such an injury in his arm or his shoulder that he can't do it anymore. I don't know if it's
or he's
age.
just not capable of it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I still think he may not care.
That's also
I still
probably
think
true.
that he
He's
just
made
has that nonchalant, don't give a fuck attitude.
He's made his money, so
Yeah, he's got the Cutler vibe with way better pedigree and way better results. Now, I will give you this. There is one thing Flacco is not doing the worst, and that is underthrowing people, as you say. Do you know who is the worst quarterback at underthrowing people this year?
at underthrowing, I do not know.
Tom Brady.
Ah,
He has underthrown 23% of his incomplete passes,
wow.
which is highest in the league. I don't think they count underthrown completions, but there could be some underthrown completions. That doesn't sound like a real legitimate stat they would be keeping, but you never know with these next-gen shit they do. We got a couple minutes left, a couple more things I want to talk about. Let's preview the Falcons-Saints game, because that is one you will get to we will not see before you hear this. And like we said, the Falcons are a 12.5-point dog going into the Superdome. Total is, what do you have it, 60.5?
60.5 right now. It's been bouncing kind of all around. It opened at 59. I've seen it as high as 62. It's some books and it's some history, but right now it's sitting at 60.5.
You look at and you look on paper, as Kirk Herbstreit always likes to say, the weapons are there for both teams. You have Tevin Coleman, you have Mohamed Sanu, you have Calvin Ridley, you have Julio Jones, you have Matt Ryan, you have Hooper. And then on the flip side, you have Mark Ingram, you have Alvin Kamara, you have Michael Thomas, you have Traquan Smith, you have, I don't know who their tight end is. So, advantage Falcons, right? I don't know who their tight end is. Anyways, point being is I feel like this game is going to fall more on, as much as the Saints have been looking fantastic, running over everybody, this game feels like it's going to fall more back into the reverted position of their earlier game they played. I believe it was like week 2 or 3. 43-37, the Saints eked out a victory in the Georgia Dome, or whatever the new Georgia Dome is. And I think it's going to revert back to that. That's why I took the Falcons plus the points.
In overtime, that game, too.
Also in overtime. Yeah.
I think the difference is, since that game, and I'm just looking at the last few games for the Falcons, they put up 19 in a loss to the Cowboys, 16 in a loss to the Browns, 38 in a win over the Redskins, 23 in a win over the Giants. So they're kind of up and down, whereas the Saints are the Saints, and they have been rolling along even these last few weeks. They're putting up, going in reverse order here, 48, 51, 45, 30, 24, and 43. So, these are and this is why I think Atlanta's kind of not moving in the right direction, whereas New Orleans is, if not staying the same. I think New Orleans right now, to me, is playing the best football in the NFL. And I
would agree with that.
If they're playing the Rams, I would take the Saints over the Rams at this minute, which I don't know that's...
Well, and they've already played once, so...
Yeah, that was, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Saints, I think they take that game. And I see the over on that one. After Monday night, I'm so afraid in those games now to ever think of taking the under.
Yeah, life's too short to take the under. That's the old betting motto. Square motto.
I don't see there
You
being...
want the scoring.
Yeah, I don't see there being an under-type situation. I could see this being a bit of a shootout here where they just... both teams are going for it. So,
Well, considering Spike has the under on his parlay, I will root for exactly what you just said.
Saints in a blowout.
You like Saints in a blowout, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, Saints win 45-10, and it comes under.
Seems legit.
I think that's the big thing too, is to remember. To get to 60, if you don't put Atlanta as putting up many points, that's a lot of points that the Saints then have to get to make that over. So, but I think I see it, reverting back to a shootout type game where both teams are just piling on the points.
I'll take 37-27 Saints. Because fuck you, that's why.
Hey, that's all right. The under still comes in.
No, that's 64 points.
37. Oh, yeah.
Nice math, schoolboy.
Yeah, whatever.
That's Mark Sanchez math there.
Aren't you the one still in school?
Yeah, I'm taking a qualitative research class, not quantitative.
Maybe you should take...
My quantitative brain is shut off right now.
Maybe you should take arithmetic. 101. All right, this is the one I've been dying to talk about because I am excited for it tomorrow, and I'm not going to be around for the actual live telecast, but I am recording it. And that is Tiger versus Phil going on right in our backyard. Anybody else excited for that, or is it just me?
No, I'm excited as well. I just wish it would have happened about 15 plus years ago.
I think it's kind of interesting now that it's happening towards, not the end of their career. Well, I guess kind of, yeah, but it's kind of a bigger tale of the tape now because 15 years ago, people forget that there was an era where Phil Mickelson was like the best golfer to never have, and then you could fill in a bunch of blanks there. And now,
Shot right-handed.
yeah, and now that Phil's accomplished some shit, and I think been a big beneficiary of the Tiger Woods kind of career lapse. It does provide a certain entertainment and value to it. TSN back home, I was reading yesterday, had a article they wrote where it was the value they feel in this matchup is based on how many people actually give a shit. Like,
it's just a tough time spot for a lot of people too. I mean, whether you're working on a Friday or whether you're doing shopping on a Friday, one thing you're not doing is watching this match.
That's true, yeah.
But buying it and recording it could be good. I mean, obviously, that actually leads me to what you were talking about is the first thing I don't like is when all the other players came out and were basically poo-pooing it, all the Rorys, McIlroys, the Jordan Spieths of the world, because if this is successful, like you're asking about, like who gives a shit, we're going to find out who gives a shit because Tiger basically came out and said, a reporter asked him, hey, will you guys do a second one? And Tiger basically goes, well, the ratings will determine if we do a second one. So it's all about, like you said, do we give a shit? And we give a shit in the form of pay-per-view buys.
Yeah. This will be exciting to watch, though, still.
Good talk.
Yeah, I wish they were willing to open it to the public, and I'm disappointed in that factor as well as...
what does that have to do with it, with if you watch it or not, though?
I'm still going to watch it, but...
I think it would be... No, but Anthony and I were talking about this a couple of days ago, in that it would be nice to have that kind of live atmosphere to it, like where it's not kind of circusy and, the only way to see it is on pay-per-view.
Well, and the thing is, you're right. I don't mind if I would have liked to see it opened up to the public, and the fact that it's not, a sanctioned PGA event, a major. It's more of two guys getting. It's what we all do when we play golf. We prop bet.
Yeah,
we all do it. Yeah. You know what I would love to see is if somehow one of those two shanks it off the tee, has to hit the next shot with their pants down like you have to. If you don't get it past the ladies' tee. You guys ever make that prop bet when you play? I always remember that prop bet. If you don't get past the ladies' tee, you got to take your pants down and shoot your next shot.
I think it's a big. I think the biggest numbers that are going to matter are the pay-per-view numbers, and I think a lot of these other golfers, there's probably an air of jealousy for the opportunity that's been given, right? Because there's a lot of attention going to it. There's this whole, hype towards it. That, I mean, if you're a Jordan Spieth or a Rory McIlroy, yeah, you want that for yourself. So you're going to shit on everyone else.
But that's the thing. If you wanted it for yourself one day, because neither of you or neither of these today players have the dominance of Tiger Woods or the popularity of Phil Mickelson. And the way to do it is not by shitting on your fellow man, because if this is a success, I mean, we could see Ricky versus Spieth, or Rory versus Spieth, or Rory Ricky Spieth, or a four-way
DJ,
the boys all playing, all the the collective futures of golf. I mean, you could turn this theoretically into so much more. I mean, Bubba Watson would make for a great great 18 holes prop betting bullshit.
Yeah.
A lot of guys on the tour would make for great excitement, but when you turn around and kind of crap all over the two guys that have paved the way for you. I mean, look, there's a reason that purses are so large in golf now, and that's Tiger Woods.
Oh, by far, yeah. That sponsor money.
Tiger Woods is the godfather to all these guys, and you're going to sit here and do this? I mean, you can't. Nothing good can come of that. Calm down. It's just a turnover. Calm down.
I have the Lions defense on my fantasy going too. So,
it reminds me of when Conor McGregor was coming up in the UFC and was making his argument. I think he had just beaten the German guy. And was talking about how he's getting the next shot at Jose Aldo, who was the champion at the time. And Frankie Edgar went on this tirade on Twitter and started talking about the numbers, and said, this are the fighters that Conor's beaten versus these are the fighters I've beaten, and was like listing, the top guys in the division and said, these are my numbers. And then Conor replied back with, yeah, well, let's talk about numbers, and then get the pay-per-view sales of Frankie Edgar's events, his previous 4 versus his, and then said, at the end of the day, buddy, this is business, and the real numbers don't lie. And I think that's what Tiger's kind of telling them, is you guys can talk all the shit you want. It's 14 majors. It's 80-something career victory.
80, 85, 86 career victories.
That's
just his. I mean, you got 5 for Phil, and I think Phil's probably won 40, 50 tournaments as well.
Yeah,
I don't have that number in front of me.
Yeah, so he's looking at them being like, oh, you won 2 majors. Good for you. I remember that. And then I hit my 3rd year as a pro.
I mean, Rory's most famous major is the one where he blew the lead.
Yeah. True it up. And actually, for a while, so that was the story of Phil. Remember when he was going for the Mickles Slam, and fucked up on the U.S. Open? I think it was.
Every time Phil Mickelson, fucked up or anything bad happened to him, he took it in such stride. Whereas you see these other guys like Rory and Spieth just kind of pouting now.
Well, Phil Mickelson's widely regarded as one of the most likable guys in all of sports, right? Like, people talk about how just genuinely good guy he is.
That's why they always want to give him insider stock tips.
Yeah. Yeah, you're a nice guy. Here's something that could land you in jail.
Yeah, here's some Martha Stewart bullshit. Nevertheless, I got a couple of prop bets I kind of want to get everybody, including Spike, even though you don't follow golf. I kind of... So my first one is over under 1.5 million pay-per-view buys worldwide.
Worldwide, over.
Do you think this is going to be a big thing everywhere, or just domestically?
Not everywhere. I mean, it'll be big domestically. Big enough domestically, and then places where golf actually matters, like the United Kingdom and the Middle East. I think that those buys will be enough to put it over.
And plus, it'll be, if they're showing it at 12 noon our time, it'll be on at 9, like you said, in the UK. It'll be on super late in the Asian market. But it'll be interesting.
I think it would get more pay-per-view buys in Europe than it would domestically, almost.
Think so?
Because holiday traditions and all that, and a lot of people shopping. I mean, you're going to have a lot of guys that get together and watch it, though. But
yeah, well, like me, I'm gonna buy it and record it. So that's where I'm standing.
Well, I think the other interesting thing too is, I mean, you brought up the Middle East. That kind of itself was something I totally didn't even think of. But they're really into in the Middle East right now those kind of novelty events, right? Like they just did a big wrestling event,
Right.
with the WWE Crown Jewel, where I mean there was all the controversy because the women weren't allowed to perform. That Renee Young, who's an announcer, had to wear the full like burqa at ringside, and. So I mean,
surprised the WWE that had to be a big payout if the WWE catered to those kind of things.
that was the thing. I heard Vince fucking
Cashed a big check.
Yeah, the Middle East opened the safe,
Yeah.
they opened the vault and said,
They
Vince,
opened the country.
Yeah, come on, Vince, come on in.
What's your GDP? Double it.
Yeah. And I think, if this is reasonably successful, and if they're, I don't know how they're marketing over there, if they're not, or if they are even, but if they are, they're looking at this, I could see them turning around and being like, hey, you know what?
Dubai's got some great golf courses,
Yeah.
including one that Tiger built.
Yeah, there's some money in having these guys come and do this here, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if Tiger comes out and fucking crushes Phil, I mean, they're going to market the shit out of that. They're going to look at that and be like, wait, can we do like a Tiger Woods challenge type thing?
Who can beat me?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's fair enough. All right, second prop bet. Or you said over 1.5?
I would say under.
Under 1.5
I
total?
said over, yeah.
Okay. There's a $200,000 prop bet on Phil birdieing the first hole. Does he birdie it? Yes or no?
No, but he pars it. He has a chance for birdie putting.
He has a putt for birdie. I think that's the thing. It's going to be a putt for birdie. At least a sweat.
Yes. And it'll be realistically partially makeable, but long enough where still a lot of margin for error, so.
All right. If they're tied, will they play extra holes?
Yes.
Or will they just call it?
I would say they just call it split the prize money and divide it amongst charity.
And then all of the betting just for naught. All the betting is push.
And then they move it to a second.
That's true. There is if it is a pay-per-view success and a tie, that's like that's the ultimate win-win from a marketing standpoint.
I mean, I don't know how they get it, but I'm pretty sure that stuff takes like almost 3 weeks to get the numbers, right?
Yeah, especially worldwide, I believe it almost takes that full month.
I think the UFC doesn't post their pay-per-views until almost the next UFC event.
Yeah.
So almost a month.
yeah. I think it's weird too with pay-per-view because
It seems like it'd be so easy. If I push buy, it's like that, you know?
Well, I think the difference too is that there's no disclosure requirement, right? So I think everybody's kind of like signed to kind of keeping their lips sealed. I mean, there's a person. In all honesty, there's a
that
person
knows it immediately.
Yeah. Right? There's a dude who that's his job or her job to sit there and know that. And yeah, as you said, every time a buy, that the ticker goes up. So, like, there are people that know the exact numbers, and when, like, for instance, with the UFC, if Dana White says, oh, yeah, we sold this many pay-per-views, there's someone that knows.
Immediately.
Yeah, that's like, okay, Dana, you're kind of bullshitting, or actually, you did better than that. Right? Either way.
Fair enough.
Yeah, no, I that makes total sense. What I'm looking at is, I know like HBO, they'll not only take their actual ratings into account, but they actually look at number of people downloading the show illegally to figure out the true ratings and the true market for the shows that they're putting out there.
Yeah.
So you wonder if pay-per-view events like this, especially for sporting events, if
Also
they would
take the illegal streams.
Yeah, if they would do that just to gauge interest in future events.
Or even beef up their numbers to say, wow, people do watch this.
You have to.
All right. Last prop bet, and this is for you. I need a quick answer.
Oh,
We're running out of time.
All right.
Total will be greater. Tiger Woods holes 1 or Knights Flames total goals? Tiger Woods holes 1 is plus 140. The goals are minus 160.
I do goals.
Yeah, that was my thought too. Even though it's highly juiced, I think. Well, that's a tough one, actually. I mean, Tiger Woods, if he runs away with this, based on the way Calgary scored on the Knights the other night.
I was going to Calgary, and they put up 6 last night against Winnipeg. So
yeah, they did.
This is a team that's rolling right now, and I think that they can score at will at this point.
All right, well, that's going to be it for my prop bets. I got a couple more in there, but we're going to run out of time. So I want to thank the sponsors: 12 Ounce Sports Radio, VGK Pop Sockets, and Chai Poker. I want to thank you guys for taking time out of all of your Thanksgivings to come over here and do a podcast. We hope that the listeners enjoy it, which we know they always don't, but we don't give a shit anyways because no one pays us to be on the radio, so we just do whatever the fuck we want, right?
That's
Damn straight.
Damn right.
All right, well, any of the listeners out there, happy Thanksgiving to you, or if you don't celebrate it, happy Thursday. So,
Yeah.
for Spike, for Token
For the
Tony,
Canadians
for
that listen,
Sonny, happy Boxing Day. We'll see you later.
Boxing Day is the 20th.